Hi guys, I'm going to go over the science lab tools with you really quick. It's quite a few of them. So let's go ahead and get started. To start off with, splash goggles are obviously to protect your eyes. We will not be using that many chemicals this year, but we will be dissecting. So we'll definitely going to be using goggles for that. Gloves are obviously to protect your skin on your hands. We will use those to dissect as well. A fire blanket is going to be used to smother flames, especially if um, it's in an enclosed area. You would use a fire blanket instead of a fire extinguisher. An apron is going to protect your clothes and your skin. We will use these when we dissect. An eye or face wash station is kind of works like a water fountain, but there's two spouts that come out, and if you get any chemicals in your eyes or your face, you basically stick your face under the water here. A fire extinguisher extinguishes fires, obviously. A journal or a notebook, we use this to take notes, to record data and observations. Test tubes are going to be used to hold small amounts of liquids or even some powders like solids and things. You can use it to mix things. It's just basically anything that you want in a small amount. But the thing about a test tube is that it will not stand up by itself because it has a rounded bottom. So you would need a test tube rack to hold it. A computer, we are definitely using computers a lot. So we use it for research, for compiling data, making graphs, for presentations. Microscopes are going to be used to see small things like cells. We'll be using those during a microscope lab. Microscope slides have a specimen on them, and we'll be using those as well. Hot plates kind of act like a tiny stove, so we can heat things. Calculators, you guys know all about calculators. A digital camera to take pictures, that's part of recording. A metric ruler, right? We've all used rulers, measuring tapes, all used to measure length. Same thing with meter sticks. Beakers are going to be used to hold liquids, mix things. We can also use them to measure volume, but remember, they're not going to be very accurate. So you'll notice in these pictures that they go by 50s. So I could not measure out anything exact like, 52 milliliters. It would be very hard to be accurate with a beaker. Balances are used to measure mass, and we'll talk about that when we go over measurement. Timing devices measure time. Graduated cylinders are going to measure liquid, volume of a liquid, and you always have to pay attention to the meniscus, which is the bottom of the curve. A spring scale is going to measure weight in newtons. So we'll talk a little bit more about that when we do measurement as well. Thermometers are going to measure temperature in Celsius. We always use metric when we're talking about science. And a pH probe or a temperature probe is basically an electronic way of taking temperature, or pH, which is a measurement of how acidic something or how basic something is. And this is going to be attached to a digital device like a calculator. Life science models, we have a few here at school or in class, like a skeleton, frog models, heart models, anything that is used to represent something that is living. A stereoscope is placed over a piece of paper, and then you go down, basically you bend over and you look through the glass, and it actually turns the picture into 3D. So think about your 3D glasses if you've ever gone to go see a 3D movie. That's kind of what a stereoscope is, except you don't wear them on your face. You sit them on the table like you see here. A collection net collects organisms. Maybe you've been butterfly hunting, so that's what that is. And then globes are basically a 3D map, right? So we can see the entire Earth. A hand lens is used to see something that's small, but not too small. So we could look at the parts of a flower or the parts of an insect's body. A water test kit. Sometimes if you have a fish tank, you can buy a water test kit to test the water that your fish are living in. And so it tells you about the chemical composition of the water. An insect trap will trap insects. So the insects can fly or crawl in, but then they have a really hard time finding their way out. A Petri dish can be used to hold things, but most of the time it's going to be used to hold something called agar, which can be used to grow bacteria. And then finally, a dissecting kit is going to be a dissecting pan and then tools that we use to dissect, like scissors, forceps, which are like tweezers, pins, scalpels. All of those things will be used to dissect. We actually don't use a scalpel because they're not really necessary, but will be using dissecting pins and forceps and scissors to dissect our frog. Okay. Well, thank you for watching.